All right, I've got a story for you today, and honestly, it sounds kind of impossible. Imagine you create something that becomes so popular, it's used millions of times a day. It's literally an essential tool for an entire industry. Now imagine that exact runaway success is what's pushing your business toward total collapse. It makes no sense, right? But it's happening right now. Okay, so let's just try to wrap our heads around this number. 75 million. That's how many times the code for a tool called Tailwind CSS gets downloaded every single month. This is a foundational piece of tech that developers all over the world are using to build the websites you and I use every day. I mean, by any measure you can think of, that is a massive, massive success.
But here's the twist. While downloads are going through the roof, the actual business behind it is in a nosedive. Just look at this. Traffic to their website, their main way of reaching customers, is down 40%. And this is the real shocker. Their revenue? It's crashed by almost 80% since early 2023.
So this brings us to the big, central question we're tackling today. How is this even possible? How can a project that's more popular than ever be fighting just to keep the lights on? How does explosive growth lead to near collapse? To really get to the bottom of this paradox, we need to understand two things. First, what exactly is Tailwind? And second, how is it even making money in the first place?
So, what is Tailwind CSS? The easiest way to think about it is like a giant box of professional-grade Legos for web developers. Instead of having to build every single tiny piece of a website's design from scratch, they can just use Tailwind's pre-made parts to build beautiful, modern sites incredibly fast. And this is not some small niche thing. A recent survey showed that over half of all web developers use it. It's a real cornerstone of the modern internet.
And it's not just the main tool either. The team behind it created this completely free plugin that automatically cleans up and organizes a developer's code. You can see it right here. The before is just a jumbled mess, and the after is clean, sorted, easy to read. This might look like a small thing, but if you're on a big team trying to work together, it is an absolute lifesaver. This is exactly what a healthy, thriving project is supposed to look like.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, if the main tool is free and everyone loves it, how on earth did they actually make any money? Well, the answer is a classic business model that's pretty much powered the internet for decades, the traffic-to-sale funnel. It worked like this, and it was pretty simple. A developer has a problem, so they go to Google and search for a solution. They end up on Tailwind's website, which has amazing free documentation. While they're there, looking for an answer, they discover that Tailwind also sells these premium products, like pre-built design kits. And then, a small percentage of those people become paying customers.
And the thing is, people loved these premium products. This whole model was this perfect little ecosystem, right? The free stuff drew in millions of users, and a tiny fraction of them would buy the paid stuff. That money then paid the salaries of the people who were making the free tool better for everyone. It just worked.
But today, that entire model, that beautiful little ecosystem, is fundamentally broken. And the thing that broke it isn't what you'd probably guess. It's not that AI is replacing the developers themselves.
It's that AI is replacing the web browser as the main way developers get information. The whole interface for how we find answers has changed.
So this is the absolute key to the whole thing. The old way, a developer would search Google, click a link, visit the website. The new way, they just ask their AI assistant, hey, how do I add responsive padding in Tailwind? And the AI, which learned everything it knows from Tailwind's free documentation, just spits out the code directly. The visit to the website never happens. The chance to discover the paid product never happens. The sale never, ever, ever happens.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. Adam Wathan, the guy who actually created Tailwind, he laid it out in the plainest terms possible. AI assistants are trained on all the amazing, free information his team created. But because users never actually visit his site anymore, none of that value makes its way back to the people who created it in the first place.
So when this news came out, and it came out because the company had to do layoffs, it just lit up the internet. It sparked this huge conversation about the real-world impact of this shift and really the future of open-source software. And that 80% drop in revenue, it had a very real human cost. The company had to lay off 75% of its core engineering team. Now, it was a pretty small company, so this meant going from 4 engineers down to just 1. But that number, 75%, sent a massive shockwave through the developer world.
And a lot of people in the community immediately got it. This wasn't just a one-off story about one company. They saw it as a huge warning sign for the entire internet economy, a real canary in the coal mine for basically anyone who creates valuable content online and depends on people actually visiting their website to survive.
Then there was this whole other side to the conversation, something that's maybe even more worrying. People started talking about the impact on human skills. This user pointed out that the interns they work with are becoming, in their words, useless because they only know how to ask an AI for the answer. They never learned the why behind the code, the stuff you only get by digging through documentation and really understanding how things work.
So, where do we go from here? This is way bigger than just Tailwind's problem to solve. We're at a really critical moment for the entire open source ecosystem that, let's be honest, the whole web is built on.
Now, the amazing thing was, the community really did step up right away. You had major tech companies like Google and Vercel who depend on Tailwind offering sponsorships to help out. But everyone, including them, admits this is just a short-term band-aid. It doesn't fix the underlying problem. Because the real issue here goes so much deeper. How are we supposed to fund the essential digital infrastructure, all these tools that everybody uses for free, in a world where AI is the new middleman, an AI that just absorbs all the value without ever passing any of it back to the original creators?
This whole crisis has kicked off a huge and frankly very urgent debate. You've got some developers talking about creating totally new software licenses to stop AI companies from training on their code without permission. And then you have others, like this person, who are asking for something much simpler. At the absolute bare minimum, shouldn't these AI tools have to cite their sources? Just give credit and a link back to the people who did the work.
And that leaves us right here, with this one giant final question. For the last 25 years, the basic logic of the internet has been pretty simple. Web traffic was the currency. Traffic meant usage, and usage built businesses. That fundamental equation is now officially broken. The web itself isn't dying, but the traffic economy that built it, it is. And figuring out what comes next is going to define the future for just about every creator out there.